Hello, I'm Gregory Hoag. I've been researching sacred geometry and consciousness for over 45 years, and this is the third part of a four-part series. If you wish to see part 1 or part 2, please click the appropriate button at the bottom of the title page. At the end of part 2, we were looking at some of our third-dimensional issues that block us from stepping into the fullness of our multi-dimensional being, which is another way of saying our connection to higher self and soul. Now, I want to share with you some sacred geometric understandings that link our energies to the sun and cycles of time thousands of years old. The circle, the beginning of everything, prime mover, referred to by the Pythagoreans and their followers as the monad, source. The circle with a dot in the center is found throughout all cultures and history. It is on every US dollar bill as the all-seeing eye and is the metaphor for the basis of all energy movement. The torus. As we discussed earlier, 99.99999% of everything is energy, and the torus is the way, the pattern that energy moves through. It adds stability to all physical components because it revolves, creating an angular momentum in the x-axis, simultaneous with moving in the y-axis, and also through the z-axis. So it's rotating in two opposing directions in each of these axes for a total of 6 simultaneous opposing angular momentums. This is a way that a smoke ring is created, and the reason that although it is made up of a material so fine it dissipates into invisibility with the slightest breeze, it still holds its donut shape as it moves out from the smoker's mouth. So here is the torus that has a hole in the middle and is shaped like a donut. Now, as it revolves, as it moves in the x-axis, you see that this side is turning clockwise while this one is turning counterclockwise. Also in the y-axis, we have two opposite revolutions going on simultaneously. And the interesting thing is that when you look at the side rectangles, they are the same height on both sides, but as they move toward the center, the constriction forces them into a spiral. So it starts spiraling down into the center, and on the opposite side, it comes out in the opposite spiral. Now, scientists refer to this as a black hole. However, it's important to note that on the opposite side of a black hole, where it's pulling energy in, energy is coming out. And many events in the universe that we refer to as black holes actually sometimes can be measured as creating an incredible amount of energy, or the opposite, pulling an incredible amount of energy into its center. As this is a template for the way energy flows, it's also important to note that this is the nature of what we call a vortex, that spinning spiral of energy that is moving energy in or moving energy out. And consequently, it's the way energy flows. That is, energy is always moving in a spiral flat fashion, which means that from the side we read it as a wave, but in truth, three-dimensionally, it's a spiral. And this is the way all energy moves. Scientists used to think that black holes were rare, but now we are finding that this movement is at the basis of all creation. Electrons are not little planets moving around a nucleus like planets around the sun, but rather they are probability fields of energy that move in a toroidal fashion, bringing energy into and out of existence, constantly forming, dissipating, and reforming reality. Every aspect of this reality is supported by higher dimensions flowing through a toroidal field. And it is this toroidal field which moves on an atomic level and also forms the energetic template around all macro or larger forms of matter, including what we call the aura around human beings, the electromagnetic field around the planet, and the entire galaxy itself, which is the source of much of the energy shift we are now moving through as it spirals into and out of its center. The energy flow of the field around human beings differs for men and women. And what I mean by that is that men have a tendency to move energy up in their field, and it goes up and out more. That's why they spend more time in their heads and are a little more aggressive and outgoing. Women, on the other hand, move energy down more and are more in touch with their heart center and feelings, connecting down into Mother Earth. That's why there's Father Sky and Mother Earth, the two directions. And that's also why, ladies, when you ask a man to tell you what he is feeling, he might say something like, well, let me think about it. And you're saying, no, don't think about it, just feel it. But you see, we are different in the way we move energy and thus process information. The toroidal field around human beings is electromagnetic in nature, as is the field around the earth. For human beings, it's centered on the heart, which is the source of that field. Dr. Dmitriev, a Russian scientist, has recently observed an increase in plasma on the leading edge of the sun's magnetic field. He believes that this is the result of the sun's magnetic field moving into an area of the galaxy where the energy is more highly charged, instigating more plasma to form. Another scientist, a German biophysicist by the name of Dieter Broers, has put forth evidence on the occurrence of microstructural changes in the brain during electromagnetic storms. He further believes that the qualities and patterns of the type of magnetic frequencies now coming into the planet are triggering advances in our creative, mental, and spiritual abilities. This is all shared in his DVD, Solar Revolution. And these are only a few of the many energy shifts foretold by the ending of the Mayan calendar, the shifting of the ages from Pisces to Aquarius, and the entering of the twilight of the 6,000-year-long Kali Yuga. NASA has a project titled Themis, and what they have found is that the sun bombards the Earth with solar radiation, and it's also the refocuser, the magnifier, and the portal for energies from the planets and Hunab Ku, the name the Maya gave to the galactic center. What has been happening, according to NASA, is the Earth's energy field is expanding. It's becoming spread out and less dense. Now, this is a field that is something we've depended upon. It's a field whose density has sheltered us for eons. The Earth's field has now become more porous, thus allowing more solar and cosmic energy to flow into the environment, and thus the human electromagnetic field as well. We are being forced through very rapid change, unprecedented in recorded history. ESA, which stands for the European Space Agency, sent up 3 satellites in November of 2013 called Swarm. They detected a 15% drop in Earth's magnetic field over 6 months, ending in the spring of 2014. This level of shift is unprecedented. Maybe 10% in 50 years is closer to the recorded norm. Now, something very big is afoot. The Earth has a magnetic North Pole and a geographic North Pole, but the Earth's magnetic pole is shifting at an accelerated rate over these past few years. This does not mean that the planet will flip on its axis. That's the geographic part of it. However, what this magnetic shift could portend is a magnetic pole reversal. Now, most scientists thought such an event was thousands of years off into the future and would also occur slowly when it did occur. However, one scientist I spoke to recently said that he was part of a group of scientists that approached the elder Bush when he was president to warn of a possible destabilization of the Earth's liquid outer core due to nuclear testing and the dropping of incredible amounts of explosives, such as during the Iraqi war, for example. There were more explosives dropped than in all of World War II together. So all of this interaction with the mantle and the outer liquid core, which is starting to create a destabilization. That outer core is made up of a metal, and it flows around the solid metal inner core very slowly, as depicted in the top image of this slide. The flow is responsible for shifting the magnetic field. Recent evidence found in hardened Nevada lava showed that an ancient magnetic field had moved 53 degrees in a single year and up to 6 degrees in a day, which is an unthought of and dangerous pace. The present shift is creating temporary ozone holes, and it's also a major contributor to climate change. So, human beings need to become more conscious of how much we are polluting the planet with our waste, but we are not the only reason for climate change. Another serious consideration is that a weakened, porous magnetic grid, coupled with increased solar output, might lead to an electric grid collapse. The image you see here has a red sky for a very good reason. Let me explain. On September 1st, 1859, an amateur astronomer by the name of Richard Carrington witnessed a major solar flare. That night, telegraph communications around the world began to fail. There were reports of sparks showering from telegraph machines, shocking operators and knocking them down. Papers were set ablaze, and the atmosphere was so charged that operators could unplug their batteries because they didn't have electricity at that time. They only sent telegraph signals via batteries, but they could unplug them and still transmit messages using only the energy that existed in the air from this solar flare. And the sky was so crimson that many who saw it believed that neighboring locales were on fire. The reason for the color shift was this. All of us are familiar with northern lights, whose colors are the results of energized, also called ionized, nitrogen and oxygen. So both of those gases, when they are excited by the sun, by solar energy, they move up in an energy level and then slowly lose that energy. If the energy input, however, is great enough, then oxygen in the high levels of our atmosphere between 150 kilometers and 250 kilometers, that's ionized. And when that releases its energy and settles back down, it gives off a red aura as its energy is dissipated. So in 1859, only telegraph wires were present. And today, it's quite different. All the power grids and satellite communications would be disrupted with such an incredible flare, possibly for years, as we don't stock large transformers much ahead of our needs. The Academy of Sciences has said, and I quote, it would cause extensive social and economic destruction and disruptions in the trillions of dollars. I have heard of channelings and Indian prophecies referred to as red sky prophecies. One such prophecy from the Hopi states the final stage, called the Great Day of Purification, has been described as a mystery egg that is to be born, in which the forces of the swastika and the sun, plus a third force symbolized by the color red, culminate either in total rebirth or total annihilation. Now, it's important to note here that the swastika should not conjure up negative Nazi fears in your consciousness. It is one of the oldest symbols on Earth and refers to a vortexual movement. So in this case, it's a vortex of energy that we find at the center of the torus. Thus, the energy of the sun moves through the downward vortex of the magnetic poles to enlighten Earth in a red shift. I firmly believe all conscious beings will choose rebirth. So there should be no fear generated by this prophecy or any prophecy or event. The only way to ride all of the potential change before us is through our heart center. Beyond the physical effects that we've described for the planet and what we've been looking at here, the most important understanding for all of this is that the magnetic grid and the solar influx are necessary for life, and the shifts that both of these two aspects of our reality are going through right now. And what's occurring is that your DNA and consciousness on all levels are also shifting with this magnetic grid shift. And it's in ways never witnessed in all of creation. We are on the brink of a major leap in spiritual evolution, as is the planet itself.